make a move and the bunny gets it.
I said, put the bunny back in the box. Why couldn't you put the bunny back in the box?
It's showtime.
Why doesn't the hero reveal himself and tell us your true name? You do have a name. My name is Gladiator. How dare you show your back to me? Slave, you will remove your helmet and tell me your name. My name is Fun My Comic, and I represent all the campaigns you shadow banned and kicked off your website. Huh? Creators that just wanted to fund, that wanted to be left alone. And we will build a website that is going to bury you all. Oh crap.
Psychically, I'm very well endowed.
I want to know what you're thinking. There are some things you can't hide. I want to know what you're feeling. Tell me what's on your mind.
Hey there, this is Cooper and Telepathic Bunny Comics. Well, good news and bad news time. The good news is I got a very good book series to promote tonight. One of my favorites, the one that kind of inspired my whole entire journey. Bad news is, unfortunately, the gentleman who is behind it all is sick tonight. Considering the state that he came back from, the fact that he is still suffering, difficulties. One point, this gentleman named Luke Stone was pretty much, we all considered him kind of like a goner. To be quite frank, we're all praying for his family rather than him. And he got sent back from heaven, and he's been on a journey ever since that most of you know about, mainly because while losing his first profession, he got another second calling, and that was to create a site called Fund My Comic. You saw the advertisement. And I am currently hosted on Fund My Comic, and his campaign for the series that I'm about to talk to you about is going to be listed on there. But first, let me check out the chat over here. We got Shadow Punk, hail. One for you, Bunny, and one for Luke. And Luke, you bastard. Yep. How dare he get sick? You know. But yeah, he's not feeling well today. He wasn't able to do bacon today. Nerd Bacon, his show. And so, well, I told him that I guess your worker have to speak for you, but I think it's a pretty eloquent advocate you got. So, first of all, though, I got another book series. I decided to wait till tonight because Luke is part of Arrow Comics, a big part of it. So it's Fun My Comic. And this book is an Arrow book, Shadow Kingdom, okay? Now, Robert E. Howard passed away kind of young, and a lot of his stuff has been licensed, but a lot of stuff has come into public domain recently. And basically, you know, some of the properties have just are just sitting there untapped. And well, Randy Zimmerman decided that he would tap one, and happens to be the first one. This guy is the forerunner of this particular story. Is actually the first considered the first sword and sorcery story. It's considered the basically beginning of the whole genre, which Robert E. Howard is considered the father of. You know Conan, you know Solomon Kane, you know several other his properties, but this is Kull the Conqueror, and this is Shadow Kingdom. Now, if you go into this is going to be, Randy Zimmerman said today that as soon as all the fulfillment is confirmed, this is going to be listed on the Arrow Comics website for purchase. Okay, now to say this is a comic book would be to diminish it. This is actually a comic illustrated adaptation, okay? Using Robert E. Howard's words, using his concepts, but adapting it for comics. And this is Randy Zimmerman, Russ Leach. You know him as comic book black belt. Has done things like Only Death Can Save Us. He's also been the primary artist on a lot of other works that you know of, that you would know if I told you. Very good artist, very solid, very quick worker, which is a good thing because, yeah, he has a little bit of work ahead of him. This has got a foreword by the grandfather of Gothic podcasting himself, Razor Fist. And he... basically, this is the adaptation. Okay, this is a direct adaptation. So it's got a lot of Robert E. Howard prose, which is not typical comic book prose, and it may be a little thick, but it's got the art. You know, it's got the concepts. And, I mean, look at that. This is classic comic book art. You know, it's got... it's just really, and the coloring is very like classic 80s, 70s, 80s comic book, you know, coloring. And it's got it's a direct adaptation of the book, and if you want to know what it's adapted from, it's got a copy of the story written in, it's in the middle. So you got the comic here with its adaptation, and then you can read the story it's adapted from, which is Robert E. Howard's story. And then you've got some concept art for this series that they've got planned. The next one is the Atlantean. It's already advertised. Russ is already working on the art. Question here. Okay, is Conan a boiled down or perfected version of Kull? Okay, Kull's a different animal from Conan. Conan is like if Conan was like if you took Kull's id out of him and made it into a being, okay? Because Kull is has that barbarian aspect of his personality. And when he gets bloodlust, he turns it on. But he's also he's like an overthinker. He's very nuanced in the way he does things. He's more of a politician than Conan. At least early on, Conan the Conqueror. He kind of became more of a Kull. But Kull's also kind of he kind of gets in over his head a lot with people that are a lot more, shall we say, underhanded in their thinking. And that's why he has like an assistant named Brule, who pretty much is the guy who thinks more along those lines and kind of protects his back. And it's a very good team up that they had going there. And so Kull the Conqueror is definitely a solid book. But it's as a comic book, I would say that it's probably going to like not exactly be people's taste, to some people's taste, because the language is Robert E. Howard language, and it's very wordy. I mean, it's very wordy. You can see, and it uses a lot of his archaic language, and but it's Robert E. Howard, so it's got the good plot. It's got the all the aspects you'll recognize that basically this story created. This is the granddaddy. This is the story that created everything, right? And so if you go into this and looking at as an adaptation, a illustrated adaptation of Robert E. Howard's Kull the Conqueror, the Shadow Kingdom, then you'll enjoy it for what it is. Now, if you go into it looking for a pure, like a comic book experience, you may be disappointed because that's not what it is. But it is a comic book form, but this is a straight adaptation of Robert E. Howard's story, and very enjoyable. The art's all there. Highly, if you like the sword and sorcery genre, which most of us do, then you'll want this book, because this is the most accessible version of Robert E. Howard's writing that you're going to find. Okay. And, Randy Zimmerman has like talks about it in the back, and so does Russ. Russ has a few things. And it's the adaptations by Glenn Fleming. The document adaptations by Glenn Fleming, who is he's a very, very, very good writer, and he adapts it quite well. It's more of a abridged version of the story, but he adapts it very, very well. Anyway, so this as a comic book, I wouldn't be able to give it very high. I would be able to give it like maybe about a 4 as a comic book, because it is wordy, and it's a little it's a little like clunky as a comic book, because it's an adaptation of a novel length work, and so the changes that were necessary to put it in comic form do make it a little bit clunky. Okay, but I'm going to give it a rating as an adaptation of Robert E. Howard, and as that, I will give it. So I do have to get some caveats. If you go into it understanding what this is an adaptation. It's not a straight up comic book. Okay. It's an adaptation in comic form, which is a different animal. But if that's what you want, then I have not found anything better than this. There used to be some like adapted like Bible stories that kind of read like this. And so if you're adapting another work to adapt it properly, then you have to leave some of the original nature in it. And because of that, if you're just looking for a straight up comic book, then you may you may like have problems with it. But I understand what this is, and I quite enjoyed it for what it was and what it's supposed to be. It's kind of like cash grab. You know, if you go into it looking for a serious comic book, you're not going to enjoy it. But once you understand it's going to be full of toilet humor and it doesn't take anything seriously, then you can enjoy it for what it is. For me, wasn't my style, but I could say it's a very good version of what it's supposed to be. And so when you evaluate things, you have to evaluate them in the category of which they're meant to be. And as long as you do that, then you can give it a proper rating. And so that's as soon as that comes available, if you like everything I said appeals to you, go get this sucker, because it is the best adaptation of Robert E. Howard that I've seen. Yeah, cool. Like, I'm glad I could sell it to you. I'm glad I could sell it to you. Now, okay. Let me get the stack. And so if you're wondering if I have the proper basis for which to give a review, does that look like I have enough material? I hope so. Okay. So the story is, I felt a calling on my life, and I went to ministry school, and I didn't last long. Reasons being, you know, I don't have the interpersonal ability, okay, that it takes to be in the ministry. You got to be able to put it, you know, you got to be able to like knock the edges off your personality, and I was never able to do that. Well, so for years and years and years, I felt that calling on my life was, you know, kind of like I kept waiting for something to emerge, you know, and I felt like I was all in the constant holding pattern. Well, then one night I was watching Bancroft, the Bancroft show, CG late night, and I found, and there was a guy on there named Luke Stone, who was a pastor at the time, and he was making comic books. And because I loved comic books, I love that kind of storytelling. I love pop culture, and I always thought that I had to keep that separate, you know. But here's a guy who was a minister who was creating comic books, and he basically said, he's like, well, God created you, and he gave you that desire, he gave you, you know, whatever that shape that takes. And if he gave you that, then you can use that to glorify him by using your gift. And I never thought of it that way. And it just opened up a whole new vista for me. I pretty much by that weekend, I had the first draft of what became Community Service written. Because it's like the door opened wide. And suddenly I felt like that my Christianity and my love for superheroes and comic books and the medium weren't incongruous anymore. They weren't compartmentalized. They could be expressed in the same, you know, in the same way. And for that, I will always be grateful because that just really opened up my life and gave me a gift. And so this thing that I'd been on the back burner and I hadn't really taken seriously suddenly became my life goal. And wait a second. Someday you should do a comic back to Apostle Paul, the man who walked the walk. Yeah, he did walk the walk. Right down to Damascus. So anyway, so the first book I got was this one here. And this is the whole first arc of the hybrid series, Trash Day, starring Clarence, otherwise known as the Trash Man, that big guy right there. And, you know, and I was very impressed with it. In that, you know, the story didn't quite flow And Luke will tell you that he improved greatly. Which is why later on he remastered it into this, which does flow better. But I saw, all these characters that I enjoyed, I really liked, and suddenly I had a series for the first time in years since comics took that dark turn. I had a series that I could follow, that I could enjoy, and characters I cared about, and so I started buying product. I started buying, the role-playing game, waiting for that module to come out. Here's a Triple Play, another character of his. This is kind of like a ash can. I had a lot of duplication because I everything that came out, I bought it, and I didn't realize if I bought it or not. Every cover, like this is another cover, Trash Day. This is by Nico Diaz, a guy who's currently working for Marvel. Probably priced out of Luke's range now, but got several of these pin-ups. This is his girl Chlorine. Yeah. But I started getting these floppies. I got the floppies. This is the first Killing Fields arc, the second arc. Still waiting for the collected arc. I've got it coming eventually. Another Nico Diaz. You see what? Marvel wanted that guy. Got 2 copies of that one. Here's another. I think this is also a Nico Diaz. I'm not sure. But this is part of the Killing Fields arc. This is definitely a Nico Diaz right here. Look at that. I had to get that one. Look at that. Then he had these special covers. These covers were like bas relief. That first one was a chrome cover. Yeah, the first one was a chrome. It's the only one he's done so far, but I got hold of it. But he had these really cool ones. These are kind of like, I don't know if you can see it, but there it is. These are special black covers of the Killing Fields arc. And he had all 4. They all came out, and never to be offered again. And I got them. It's like, why are you collecting these things? I never really collect variant covers before, but I said all that to say this. I just love his series. I love his characters. I love his world. He did this for me. This is my favorite character. Now, this guy is Danny. Now, he's based on an actual character, an actual guy that Luke knows, who was lost his legs and an eye defending the country, and he is just that, And so this character is based on him in a way, but Danny's my favorite character. I just even though he doesn't have superpowers, his attitude, his badassery is his superpower, and I just dig that. I really dig that. Among superpowered beings and their respecting this man who's in a wheelchair. It's just, I love that character. And Luke knows it. Luke knows it. I've also created a villain for his universe that eventually will be in some other stuff. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Ice Cream Man is coming. But anyway, let me go back to this. So this right here is a collection of Trash Day. This is available on the same campaign. Let me see. Black one looks like the Spinal Tap edition. It may be. I don't know what he calls them. I can't remember. What's up? Pixel Trader, what's up, dude? Good to see you. Good to see you. If any of you guys want to come on, I'll send you a link. it'd be nice to have somebody to talk to, bounce this stuff off of. But this is actually a Kanan White cover. He caught Kanan on the come up before Kanan like priced himself out of most people's range, except for Eric July. But he just redid some of the art. This is the remastered edition, and it flows better, has better writing in it. Just because he, kind of like improved so much since that first one was put together. But this book right here, I mean, the way the characters are. Now, this is a team up book. I have a soft spot for team up books. I'm making a team up book. And the reason why I like team up books is they're harder to write and do it right. Okay. Harder to write RWRITE and do it right. GHT. Anyway, so the reason why is because not only are you dealing with creating specific characters, creating characters that have distinctive personalities, where even if they're in a crowded page, you still can pick them out. And that's a difficult trick. And not many people have that ability. But you also have to worry about interpersonal mechanics, interpersonal, relational mechanics. And not everybody's going to get along. If you do it right, you're going to have people that rub each other the wrong way, but they have to work with each other. And so allowances have to be made. And that balancing act, if you get it right, like, at Claremont's X-Men, if you get it right, you basically have an unlimited engine for storytelling, because not only do you have a collective that you can tell a story, but you can take on bigger threats, because you're not by one person by themselves, and you can also have like heroism, self-sacrifice, people who warm up to one another, relational stuff can be in there. And you also, then you can break off and do like individual stories. And so if you do it right, then you absolutely can write perpetually. Okay. Because you got all the individual stories as well. You can do like duos, trios, quartets. You can separate everybody off, have somebody on a quest. The stories are unlimited if you do it right. And Luke did it right. Okay. As a matter of fact, I have a blurb on the back of this one. It says, nonstop roller coaster ride with one of the most compelling protagonists in independent comics. Luke Stone pulls no punches and serves the story rather than his own agenda. The result is a taut, thrilling, twisting jaunt through a new universe of unforgettable characters and villains that live up to the billing. Buy it today. So that was my blurb. And if it sounds like I'm just blowing smoke, you have to understand. These characters are ones that I care about. I care what happens to them. And darn it, Luke is the kind of writer that he goes where the story leads him. And if that means that somebody is not going to make it, then he goes there. And these books, he had the end of the second arc, Killing Fields. He kind of like hinted that somebody's going to die. Somebody's going to die. Just letting you know. And I was here. I was speculating. Somebody's going to die. I thought I knew who it was going to be, and he hinted that was the one that was going to die. But then Jerk pulls a 180, and the person who died, I'm like, oh, But see, that's what I'm talking about. I cared. Okay? I care what happens to these guys. You know, it's written in such a way that I cared. And the relationships were there. And so when people were mourning this situation, people were doing things out of grief, Mutant Massacre is my pinnacle. Mutant Massacre, the collection, is the best collection of books ever written to me. Best comic book. It's pinnacle for me. And, I know it's not everybody's pinnacle, but it's mine. And the thing that made it so interesting was because, things happened. People, didn't make it. People that you knew about didn't make it. And, but you had compassion for them and you cared about everybody. And so when things happened, it mattered. And so that is a balancing act that not everybody can do. I've got team up books from two of the biggest creators that we have in this space. And I'm going to be quite frank. They killed off team members. Didn't faze me one bit. I didn't care. Why? Because they didn't give me something to care about. Okay. Nihilism is not a character trait, gentlemen. It's just not. And if everybody's a bad guy and if everybody just follows their id, if nobody has a moral code, then it's just a background hum. Okay. And I see that a lot these days where nobody has a moral code because the people writing them don't have a moral code. And so how the hell they're going to write somebody with a moral code is as limited as their skill set is, if they don't have one. And they're pretty much putting self-inserts everywhere. And they are completely amoral, nihilistic pieces of trash. And that's what comes out in the comics. And so you got somebody that has a deep moral code like Luke Stone. And what happens is the comic that comes out has more variety, has more depth, has this thread that goes through it of faith, the idea of faith, not necessarily in God, but in each other, in faith and hope in the future, facing bleak circumstances and finding a way forward. And because of that, it's a very compelling series. And I basically, anything that comes out on this series, I'm going to buy it. If you saw, I've done that. I bought more than one of several things. Just because I wanted that variant cover, and it happened to be on a tier that had other ones in it because it was Indiegogo, and so I wound up with 2 or 3 copies. If anybody wants a copy, I'll send you one. But basically, the reason why I'm doing this Best Unsung Creators is because, right now, Luke is known for Fun My Comic. He's getting invited on shows for Fun My Comic. He's also known for being the artist. I had a guy on the other day that had him as a primary artist on the Saga of Sunsets. And, and I've got pieces of art. One of my covers was done by Luke Stone. So he's known a lot for being an artist. He's also known for being the purveyor of Fun My Comic. He's also known for being, one of the editors-in-chief over at Arrow Comics. So this guy's got a lot of hats, but the one that he doesn't get pointed out a lot in this because he's been so busy, he hasn't been able to put out his own product that much. But the thing that I wanted to highlight tonight was his creation, the IPs that he's created. Okay. Because I think that he's a better writer than he is an artist, and he's a pretty damn good artist. I mean, he's really good artist. And so, you know, I've been promoting a lot of people, um, you know, a lot of big creators over the years. I've bought and backed a lot of their stuff, and there's some really massive creators out right now who could buy and sell me, you know. And I hear about their books, and when people talk about their books, I don't hear my favorite character is such and such, you know. I don't hear them say, wow, you know, I wonder what's going to happen to that person. You know, I'm invested. And I think that's a big issue, you know. I've got some the other guys I've been like promoting the last few weeks. You know, most of them are like individual, you know, their comics are basically like people, like individuals, you know. The comics aren't really like ensembles, okay? Now, you know, some of the best comics that I have in my collection that are from this group are ensembles, you know. I would put Shadow's Entries in that. I would put, you know, I would put Mythicals into that. I would put, you know, what's Company Men into that. And some of the, you know, there's some of my favorite comics that I got. And I plan on having those creators on as soon as I can get them. But the thing that separates Luke's work from a lot that I read is the fact that every one of these characters have their own inner world. You know, they have their own, like, something, they have our own thing going on. And that not necessarily having to do with the group, you know, like two of his characters, two of his main characters have this relationship where they're getting married, you know, and they're having this kind of a romantic relationship. They're dating, you know. It even has a short story where they go on their first date, and it's hilarious, you know. But you know, you see so much of what we see is so action oriented that taking time along the way to like create a world for these people, you know, to give them like a life, give them like a structure, you know. One of the reasons why Shadowpunk's comic, you know, which is my pinnacle, I'll say that forever. But the reason why that comic was so strong is because I watched the movie that he made. The 9-minute movie was Mara and her family. And so everything that happened to her, I had this backstory. I knew she had a family somewhere. And which asshole that he is meant that the, you know, last half of the book was kind of rough. Not going to tell you, not going to spoil it, you know, even though he won't put the book out for a second chance. Daggum him. But basically, you know, it's the little things, you know, and Luke understands that, you know, it's the little idiosyncrasies, like Clarence, Trash Man, the huge guy that he is. He has a dog, a little Dachshund named Pepper. And it's just, it's a grace note. Okay. I am exactly that. Yes, you are. Dadgum you. Jerkwad. But, you know, and little things like that, you know, the leader of the group has a drinking problem. You know, beginning, you know, the first book arc, he has a drinking problem. Former preacher, you know, and even though he's not powered, he's like the one that they all look up to, and yet he isn't sure that he has faith anymore. And Danny, a guy who came from the opposite end, you know, somebody that came from, you know, being a bad guy and the blackness of immorality, is now the Jiminy Cricket, and he's trying to keep Reverend Rev from going over to the dark side, and an interpersonal relationship, right? And I'm talking to these people like they're real. Why? Because they are real. That's what happens when you create a world and create characters, create interpersonal relationships. I got books over here that made 6 figures, and I have have teams, of teams of people, and it's all about the action. It's all about, they don't pause. They don't have human moments. They don't have interactions. There's like I'm going to say it, graveyard shift. Up to book 3. I got up to book 3 when I was done. I was done after book 3. But they have a character that sacrificed himself. Working on it. All right. But they have a character that sacrifices himself. Okay. And he becomes like the AI for this like spaceship, their home headquarters. In other words, this human becomes a computer system, and so, but he's still human, and it's this fascinating idea. It's a fascinating idea, and up to book 3, they never explored it. It's the only guy in that whole entire book series that had any kind of self-sacrifice in him, that gave up his life for other people, that had any kind of depth to him, and they never used him. But they had like 30 different ways to show the female, butt and breasts. We got to get that in. But getting character beat in, getting like character depth in there, nah. There's another way we can show her butt off. That's all I cared about. And so, why do I care? I put that comic book, walked away. They're in dire straits. They're, facing down the barrel of a gun, and I walked away from it. I didn't care. Now, hybrids, holy crap. That Killing Fields arc, I knew somebody was going to pass away, and he just like foreshadowed. And I care so much about these people that as soon as I got that comic, I got it, and I was like supposed to head off somewhere, and I found out it was in the mailbox. I took it with me. I read it in the car, and then I cussed him for a while. But I had to know. And next book he puts out, as soon as he finds the time, I'm there. I could walk away from Graveyard Shift. I could walk away from Jawbreakers. There's been another book that went out from Jawbreakers. I have no desire to ever see it. Isn't that sad? I got the first one. I got the second one. I got the third one. Finally, after years, I finally got the third one. Don't care. Didn't need to get the last one. Of course, nobody has it yet. That's like two and a half years ago. Nobody has it yet. Nobody knows when they'll get it. But I didn't care. And that's why I want to put a spotlight on people like Luke Stone and hybrids. Hold on a second. Pressure. Well, I tried to put pressure on you to do a second chance campaign, but that didn't work. Stubborn. But, it's like with community service. One of the things that I was inspired by hybrids to do was I was inspired to make these people unlikable if I had to. 1 second. Your assessment really makes me wonder what sells here and CG actually sells, right? I don't know. Yep, you're right. You're right. I don't buy anybody with six figures anymore. None of them appeal to me. I've had their books. I've helped contribute to those six-figure campaigns, and I don't care. You know, isn't that sad? I should care. I should care, but I don't. You know, but I do care about that. I do care about Luke Stone. And I care about hybrids. And there's care. But one thing he taught me that I try to put into my community services is allowing myself to make these people unlikable. You know, because when you're writing quote unquote protagonists, and they have this problem in the mainstream where if they're the protagonist, they have to be a Mary Sue. They can't have any flaws whatsoever. And that doesn't make a character that you care about. And when I read Hybrids, you know, Clarence, the main character, he's this morally upright guy, but at the same time, he doesn't make anything easy for anybody. You know, even Chlorine, when she's trying to get close to him, he doesn't make it easier on him. Yeah, easier on her, because you know he's really got a deep world about him, and because of that, he can be such a blockhead. He can be like insensitive. He can, you know, he can be difficult to deal with and work with, and he doesn't tell you 100% everything that's going on with him. And that could be annoying. You got Rev. Rev, you know, when he's in the bottle especially, can be unlikable at times. But at the same time, you know, when things hit the fan, they're all looking to Rev. Why? Because the guy comes through. You know, against impossible odds, he comes through, you know. You know, got Bone. Bone is the teleporter, and Bone is a perpetual teenage skateboarder. I mean, how annoying is that? He can be very annoying, but at the same time, he's the first one to dive through that portal to try to save somebody. And there's a lot of times I thought Bone was going to be the one that's going to pass away, you know, and he risked it all multiple times. But that lesson I learned, you know, and I've tried to incorporate it into my writing. But I've gone back and I've looked through all the best comic books, the ones I really enjoy, and I keep finding that over and over again. Wolverine. We love Wolverine, right? Here I am. I know it's so annoying. No, you're not annoying. I love you, dude. But I keep going back, like Wolverine can be very unlikable. Wolverine is an asshole. He's a bastard. Okay? And he's hard drinking, womanizing, you know, fur everywhere, and smoking cigars, and you know, just nihilistic jerk a lot of times. But why do people like him so much? It's because there's a part of him that wants to be a good guy. And it doesn't always succeed, but he tries. And we love him for that. You know, Nightcrawler comes close to being a Mary Sue. We all love Nightcrawler. But Nightcrawler has a dark side too. And occasionally it does come out. You know, Professor Xavier, as the paragon of virtue that he is, you know. But he does stuff all the time that you're like, man, that was an asshole thing. You know, he's directly responsible for the Phoenix Force, you know, for the Dark Phoenix. Charles Xavier, good guy that he is. You know, he does things, he makes mistakes because he's trying to do the right thing. And when he gets it in his head that the end justifies the means, then him doing the right thing becomes a bad thing. But, you know, even he can lose his way. No, I'm not saying all mutants are assholes. No, I'm not. You know, Captain America. All right. When you write Captain America, right? Captain America can be very annoying. You saw this, in the movies. They kind of displayed this to where Steve Rogers is true blue, dyed in the wool, patriot, but he's like completely 100% sure of himself at all times. And that surety is a good thing when you need somebody to make decisive decisions. But that surety also means that he doesn't take people's advice on board, and he can charge headlong into battle and create a lot of more problems than he solves. And he's done that multiple times. That's why we love Steve Rogers, though. It's because he's trying to be a good guy, and most of the time he succeeds. Succeeds probably in a higher percentage than most other characters in the Marvel Universe. But, that's one lesson that, I learned from hybrids that I've tried to apply to my writing. And if Luke was here, I think Luke would tell you the same thing, that he starts with the character. He starts with, hold on a second. Never did get a hold of classic Captain America cartoon. I'm slipping. I know. You got everything pop culture. What the hell, man? It's because it's American, right? Yeah, you're just racist against Americans. Anyway, he's Scottish. I can joke about that. But I say all this to say this. If you get a chance, the Hybrids campaign is on Fund My Comic. It's live right now. You can get this collected edition, which I highly suggest you get. But you can also get a collected edition of the Killing Fields, which I highly suggest. And he's got a lot of the variant covers that are listed, I think, on LukeStoneStudios.com. And basically, get your collection today. Unfortunately, you won't be able to get one of these. These were only available for a limited amount of time on the campaign. And as cool as that is, look at that. See that? Yeah. Those were only listed for a limited amount of time, and they're no longer available. But if you get a chance, it's pinned to the chat. It's also in the description below. But start your hybrids adventure today. You want to know, hey, I don't have any good comics to read anymore. I used to love his team up comics. Then get a hold of this one. It's available right now. Hold on a second. Great thing about being Scottish is it's now Friday the 12th. Ooh, that was close, not Friday the 13th. Right. Do I have? No, I don't. Okay. I was trying to upload the trailer. I thought I had it in here. I didn't. But go and check that out. I've got it pinned to the chat. I got it in the description. And as a entire series. Now the art, you've probably seen better art. I'm gonna be honest. The art's not as like jaw dropping, and Luke will say this. He's not insulted at all, but the art fits the comic, and it's part of what makes the comic. And I personally love the art. But if you're looking for jaw dropping, like generational art, like you'd find in Snowman or find in Cyberfrog or something like that, you're probably not gonna, find that with hybrids, but it fits the comics so well that I couldn't see anybody else drawing it. I really couldn't. And it's just so well written. There's so many good characters to love. And it's you got 2 story arcs that you can get caught up on. More to come. And you got a few side ash cans that you can collect. And it's just a really great series. It's the series that really changed the direction of my life. And I'm very grateful to it. And I can't recommend it highly enough. There's a reason I put the blurb on the back of it. He asked me to do it, and I had it written that day. Just like that. Because I love a series. And so while you're there on Fund My Comic, check out what else is available. But make sure you pick up hybrids. Trust me on that. He did have it like free for a while where you could get the first arc for free. I don't think that's available anymore, but he had it for a while. But he just wants people to read it because he knows if you read it, you're going to be hooked. So that's a warning. If you read it, you're going to be hooked. I guarantee it. Anyway, so let me give a rating for that. And of course, you see it coming a mile off, but let me go ahead and just end the formality. So here you go. 6 carats. This is the series that took place of X-Men for me. When X-Men went way off in Krakoa and did all the crazy stuff that they did there. I no longer felt like collecting X-Men, and I started collecting hybrids, and it wasn't a drop-off. I love every one of these characters. I love this world. I love the universe that he's built. Hopefully, you'll be able to see the character that I created pretty soon. I think it's going to be in the next arc. And, he's also, I couldn't find it. I think it's back there somewhere. But he also has a team up between Trash Man and Starstruck, who's part of Starcross Studios. I think that's available on Starcross. I'm not sure. But that's a fun book, too. It's really funny. It's got one of the best jokes that I've gotten in a comic recently. I really love it. But it's got Clarence. It stars Clarence, Trash Man. And anyway, so I highly suggest this series. I can't suggest it high enough. I hope, Luke, wherever you are, dude, I hope you're resting up. I hope you're getting healthy. Because we need you, man. We need you. Fun My Comic has become what I feel like is the new center hub for what's happening in indie comics. And the sky's the limit. If you're not on Fund My Comic yet, you need to consider getting over there because it's about to take off. You can believe that. If you believe anything else, I say believe that. But while you're at it, pick up a copy of Hybrids. I can't recommend it high enough. I just can't. So that's been Cooper for Telepathic Bunny Comics. Wherever you are, Luke, I hope you're feeling better. Thank you to the fluffiest chat and all of YouTube. And I will see you next time. Remember, follow the White Rabbit. Bye, everybody.